17 part of the festival, and Myers will talk about introducing the traditional music and poetry of Wales. That's what Wales is known for. Not for its food, although some of their food's very good, some of it isn't, in my opinion. But their poetry and music, they're world famed for. So Jan, let's hear about music and poetry.
This past year, the Welsh keeper of the website Best of Wales claimed, "Whether we can sing or not, we'll certainly give it a try." That's perhaps why Wales is referred to as the land of song. If you've ever watched Wales play rugby, you'll notice our crowds tend to win hands down when it comes to singing, even if we don't always win the game. Our national anthem, Land of My Fathers, gets the loudest and most tuneful rendition. Ross Clark, another Welshman, was ruminating about why Wales is known as the land of song. He said, "Picture this, you're in a filled-to-capacity stadium with around 75,000 other people, and pretty much everyone is singing. It's not a pop song, but a hymn. You're not at a concert, but a rugby match. This is not hypothetical, it's reality. Just a regular match day at the Principality Stadium in the Welsh capital of Cardiff. You see, Welsh people are known to have two great passions, rugby and singing. And when they congregate for a rugby match, you won't be able to stop them breaking into song. The customary Welsh rugby repertoire, a series of traditional hymns such as Guide Me, O Thou Great Redeemer, may also be heard at a standard Welsh wedding or a funeral around the country. Of course, Ross Clark couldn't talk about Wales and music without mentioning its male choirs, famous throughout the world. He wrote, "Choirs and choral singing are in our history. Perhaps you have read Richard Llewellyn's novel, How Green Was My Valley, a story about a Welsh mining community at the turn of the 20th century. In a line in the 1941 Oscar-winning adaptation of that story, there reads, "Singing is in my people as sight is in the eye." We as a nation grew up singing in school, at parties, in church. With the revival of the Methodist movement, popularized by leading Welsh preachers, communities of miners, especially in the South Wales valleys, supported congregational singing. Professor Gareth Williams, Emeritus History Professor at the University of South Wales, explained, "They found solace and sociability in song, for in a materially poor society, the voice was the most democratic of instruments. It cost nothing. Men and women found comfort from the daily industrial grind in their chapels. With a society dominated in numbers by around 250,000 male miners employed to extract coal and iron ore from the Welsh landscape, male singing grew in popularity, a tradition that continues to this day." Mike Williams, musical director of Esquire, a Welsh male voice group, said, "Choral singing was an opportunity to escape the labor and danger of the mines. Does that mean that everyone can sing? Surely a whole nation and generations of people can't naturally have great voices." At the recent National Eisteddfod in Cardiff, while the crowd waited for the singing competition results, the entire auditorium of the Wales Millennium Centre spontaneously started singing in beautiful harmony. To the Welsh in the hall, it was just natural. Welsh and singing seem to go hand in hand. So maybe I can't claim that all Welsh people can sing, but what I can say for sure is that all Welsh people are singers. What about Welsh folk songs? In the National Library of Wales, one can find the article, "The folk song tradition in Wales. This article points out, love is the most popular theme of the Welsh folk songs, as in Myfanwy. Throughout the centuries, mothers were all important in the task of presenting songs such as All Through the Night or Suogan to generations after generations of children. The most notable songs among work songs derive from Glamorgan. They are songs encouraging oxen to keep working when plowing, or military marches such as Men of Hardick. On the other hand, wassail songs were synonymous with a small group of merrymakers who would go from one house to another wishing the families good health and blessings in their lives, and in the hope of obtaining a warm welcome and hospitality. Just think of the Welsh air, Deck the Halls. Let's not forget Welsh instrumental music. Best of Wales says, those of us not blessed with great singing voices may have a go at an instrument instead. The harp is probably most traditionally associated with Wales. You might even get to hear someone playing the crib, an ancient Celtic form of stringed lyre that used a bow to play the strings. Now let's move from Welsh music to poetry. In his article, Do the Welsh Just Sing?, Samuel Grayson explained, Welsh literature descends from the bardic tradition. Bards were the professional poets of court commissioned to compose songs for their lord. In the bardic tradition, poetry was sung. One of the most important and intriguing pieces of modern Welsh culture is the Eisteddfod. The contemporary Eisteddfod is a festival of literature, music, and performance, a reincarnation of professional competitions for Welsh artists and performers held sporadically between the 12th and 16th centuries. The National Eisteddfod now takes place every year in a different part of Wales, having been formally established in 1860. All in Welsh, it is considered to be the largest music and poetry festival in Europe. The main ceremony for the entire festival is the chairing of the bard, the winning poet. Ross Clark added, the bardic tradition enabled stories to be told and recanted down through the generations. It is likely that these traditions were also influenced by the lyrical nature of the Welsh language, its consonantal nature. In fact, Welsh was apparently used as the basis for the Elvish language in J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit and his Lord of the Rings, partly due to its melodic, ethereal nature. Even Rick Steves, known for his travel books and guided tours, pointed out the integral part that poetry plays in the Welsh culture. Conversing on the street with a Welshman named Martin, Rick Steves asked, so Martin, poetry is a big deal? Martin replied, poetry's huge. It's a manly thing to recite your recently composed poem to your workmates at work on a Monday morning. Now, drawing from the lad's uniquely pioneer-transported Welsh culture, I wish to share an incident that occurred along that pioneer journey from the hills of Wales to the hills of Samaria, Elkhorn, and Oxford. Once these Welsh pioneers had sailed on the Buena Vista to New Orleans and made their way to Council Bluffs, they faced driving ox teams across the plains of the Midwest, a difficult task for the Welsh, most of whom had worked in the mines of Wales. They did, however, provide much-needed entertainment in the evenings on that trek. William Morgan, a 46-year-old engineer from Merthyr Tydfil, wrote about the music performed by the Welsh while crossing the plains. He said, we saw the English and the Norwegians and everyone with their heads out of their wagons. With the second part of the music, the wagons were empty in an instant, and their inhabitants running toward us as if they were charmed. Some asked me where they had learned and who was their teacher. I said that the hills of Wales were the schoolhouse, and that the Spirit of God was the teacher. Bringing this Welsh tradition even closer to home, I think of my own grandmother, Estella Evans, whose paternal grandparents met each other on the Buena Vista and were then married by William Morgan. beautiful contralto voice and sang both solos and duets with her sister Kate, accompanied by their younger sister Annie. When Estella's daughter Margaret was young, it seemed to her as though Stella sang at every funeral that came along. Once for the community 4th of July celebration, Stella sang "The Flag Without a Stain." As the mother of 8, she sang as she rocked the babies to sleep and during their illnesses. Lest we look askant at Stella for marrying a tall Englishman, surnamed Crowther, we only need to remember that the name Crowther is thought to have come from one who plays the crib, that ancient instrument still played by the Welsh. So, I end with the apt words of Brian Harris, who in 1967 paraphrased a Welsh proverb in his poem, In Passing. He wrote, "To be born in Wales, not with a silver spoon in your mouth, but with music in your blood and with poetry in your soul, is a privilege indeed." And with that elegant nod to the music and poetry of Wales, I say, let the Malad Valley Welsh Festival 2020